are back. How'd that week go by so fast? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube Guitar Q&A live stream. That was a fast week. I hope you got a little bit better at the guitar. I don't know if I did. I think I did. Hello, Charlie Beagle. Hello, Pooba John, Scott Rhodes, Susan. Hello, Robbie, 24-ish. Hello. Welcome to our moderator. Beginner Guitar Lessons is our moderator. You guys know how this works. I'm here for your questions. Send in a question. Put a couple of question marks in advance of the question. I answer it to the best of my ability, and then we move on. Also, I have a bunch of things ready to go here. I got my agenda. Hello, Mr. Collier. Welcome. Hi, Bill. Johnny Mobasher from England. Hello. So if and when you have a question, don't forget to put a bunch of question marks in advance, and that's how I know your question is aimed at me. As the questions begin coming in, I want to share a couple of things with you. Some of you guys may remember last week we discussed some possible songs for my next book, which is going to be a book of chord melody arrangements. And I told you a bunch of songs I already have. You guys made some great suggestions, so don't be shy. If you have other suggestions for songs that I can turn into chord melody arrangements for my next book. Things to keep in mind before you make a suggestion. Slow songs are preferable. Very well-known songs are preferable, right? Your neighbor might have written a great song, but I don't know your neighbor's song, and maybe nobody knows your neighbor's song, but well-known songs would be my first choice. Songs where the chords are relatively straightforward chords. You might not know if the chords are easy chords or not, but say a real jazzy kind of ballad, that might be off limits. That's going beyond what I want to do. So starting right now, feel free to put in the chat, the live chat here, any suggestions you have. I think last week some folks suggested some Glenn Campbell tunes like Galveston, Wichita Lineman, great ideas. And some of you guys emailed me a few suggestions during the week. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat, but I'll tell you right now, info@song-bike.com, and you can just email me any suggestions you have. Here we go, info@song-bike.com. Okay, because maybe an idea will pop into your head, tomorrow. Gentle on my mind, Nick says. Great idea. Water is Wide, says DG. Yeah, great. Water is Wide, you might know, is a folk tune that goes way back. James Taylor does a nice version of it. DG, is that what you're letting us know? I'm sure you're right. James Taylor doesn't really do anything that's not tasteful, right? But yeah, Water is Wide. What a beautiful melody. Charlie Beagle is checking in to see if we have any connection with Taylor Swift. This live stream, we don't have any connection with Taylor Swift. She's but this weekend is kind of Taylor Swift / Super Bowl weekend, right? Scott Rhodes got some new things. Scott Rhodes got a baritone guitar and a new tremolo pedal. That'll keep you busy, man. What a great combination. Excellent. A nice cold beverage or hot beverage, depending on where you're at. And then there goes your whole weekend. Sounds beautiful. Jerry from Republic, Missouri. Hey, Jerry, welcome back. DG is saying James Taylor's version of Water is Wide is a bit trickier than the other versions, but is the best. Johnny Mobasher is suggesting Put Your Head on My Shoulder. I know that tune. I mean, I recognize it. Who made that tune famous? I don't know. Another suggestion, Cherry Cherry by Neil Diamond. Yeah, I've never done a chord melody of a Neil Diamond tune, and why not? Hey, Poopa John. So keep those suggestions coming in. DG, thank you for checking in, by the way, all the way from Scotland. Kristen from, oh my gosh, Kristen, is it Norway or Denmark? I'm blanking out. I'm so sorry. I feel like an ignorant American. Kristen, let us know where you're checking in from. I should know it because you're a regular. I should know this off the top of my head. But thank you for being here. Okay, so you guys, a couple of things. As you know, I can't wait to get to our guitar play along. And Susan, what you just heard, I think, Susan, you're asking about what I was just playing. What I was just playing a minute ago connects with our weekly guitar play along that we'll be getting to. Hey, TSA. Time Surfing Alien, welcome. Nick, welcome. So we're definitely going to do a guitar play along. I can't wait to talk about the chords of the week because it's one of those ideas that I get, and the idea grows and grows and grows. I think, oh, I could say this, and I could remind people of this, and I could show this, and it's a very simple chord thing I'm going to show you, but that won't stop me from talking about it like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Jerry is suggesting Fire in the Mountain from Marshall Tucker. Kristen from Denmark. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you. Sorry for having a mind freeze there. DG is giving a shout out to Lucinda Williams, Sweet Old World. And that's your song of the week in your mind, right, DG? I know that feeling when you hear a song and it just, it stays with you. And maybe it kind of eclipses the other stuff other songs that used to be your favorite song for the week, and then other things come on, So we will do our chords of the week. We will do our guitar play along of the week. There's a concept I want to throw out there. Thinking of chords as flags. And I'll get into that momentarily. But remember, a chord is a concept. We think of a chord as a certain place you put your fingers, right? And it is. But the chord is also a concept. It's 3 or more different notes played at the same time, or arpeggiated. You can play them separately in a pattern if you want to. But us guitar players, more than, say, piano players, though piano players being the other chordal players out there, right? Any song that has chords in the background, it's going to be done by piano or guitar, right? Unless you're talking about a symphony orchestra. So us guitar players, someone says a D chord, and we all think a D chord is when you put your fingers like this, right? And it is, but it goes so much beyond that grip. So that's why I want to talk to you guys today about the chord concept as a flag from any country, every country, right? The flags are all so different, but they have a lot in common with each other. Sometimes you see a flag, you think, oh, wait, is that such and such? Is it such and such? It's hard to remember because they might look a little bit alike. They might share some colors. Okay, so A to Z me. That's the kind of comment I like. A to Z me says, the stream looks good this week. What happened? Yeah. Who knows? But you know what? We deserve a round of applause. Here comes. Hey, round of applause. You guys hear that round of applause? All right. Hey, you know what? I have been doing a little troubleshooting here in live stream land, and here at my Elm Street studio, I'm really borrowing this Elm Street studio from my buddy Rich, and Rich has been doing some troubleshooting. So we're looking out for you guys. We're trying to make this better every week, smoother every week. And what could possibly go wrong, as I like to say? We're off to a great start already. Because we all know that feeling when something doesn't go right in a live stream. I know I got the board working again, my friends. I got my board working, and yeah, so you're bound to hear some stuff today from the board, the mixing board. Okay. Also on my agenda, let's see. Don't forget the Sweetwater link at the top of the chat. I like to put that in right at the beginning of our live stream, just to get it out of the way, so I can copy and paste it, put in there. Should you choose to buy yourself a Valentine's Day present, why not shop at Sweetwater? The link to Sweetwater will also be in the description of this video. Remember, it's not just any link; it's a link where Sweetwater knows that I sent you to them, and whatever you buy from Sweetwater, a little tiny bit of their proceeds comes to support what we're doing right here. So if you were going to shop at Sweetwater anyways and buy yourself or a loved one a Valentine's Day gift, definitely use that affiliate link that you can find in the description of this live stream or at the top of the chat. Okay. A to Z me. You hear those sound effects? Yeah, there you go. I won't overdo it. I won't be one of those guys, although it's so tempting. I won't do it. Charlie Beagle is suggesting they call the wind Mariah for a chord melody. Sounds good. Okay, so keep the questions coming in, but let's get right into the chords of the week. And You're going to like this just fine. The chords of the week, while I get organized, I'm going to keep talking even while I get organized here. The 1 chord going to the 3 chord. And the 1 chord is going to be major, and the 3 chord is going to be minor, because it's extremely typical for the 1 chord to be a major chord, especially if you're in a major key. And if the 1 chord is a major chord, which it very often is, the 3 chord is very often a minor chord. And there's a reason why I'm using these 2 chords, because not only is it a chance to talk about little music theory, but there's a famous tune that this, is a famous tune that illustrates this 1-3 chord change. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to walk you through a few, and then we'll get to a famous tune that employs this. Let us play. Let us bow our heads and play. How about an A chord? That's going to be the 1 chord, going to a C sharp minor chord. And I have a feeling that you guys are all pretty darn comfortable with an A major chord, and that's great. By the way, Rich, if you are watching, not only am I borrowing your studio here, but I'm borrowing your Sharpie. I think by the time we're done today, I'm going to owe you a fresh Sharpie. Okay, so my friends, an A chord going to a C sharp minor chord. Okay, let's slap this up here. Look at that. Oh, crystal clear. Hope it is. So if A is the 1 chord, then C sharp minor by definition is the 3 chord. And that's nice. But what I want to get at is the extremely subtle difference in terms of the fingering of each, right? So take a good look at that A. And notice the C sharp minor. Watch out, the C sharp minor has 2 X's, no E or A bass strings on the C sharp minor. I'm just going to do a little flipperoo to change from an A major to a C sharp minor. On the C sharp minor, I'm only going to play the 4 treble strings. Okay, so I'm just to give you something to listen to. There are some nice A major chords. And here comes the C sharp minor. Subtle difference. A major, C sharp minor. So all of us guitar players, we say, okay, I already knew A major, I got that. C sharp minor, easy peasy. And we think we're done, because we think of chords as these grips. But it's more than just where you put your fingers. Musically, what's happening is 1 note from the A chord is going back a half step, okay? In this case, it happens to be the 3rd treble string, the G string 2nd fret, which actually happens to be the note A, okay, is going back to the 1st fret on the 3rd treble string, the 1st fret in the G string. It's turning from an A to a G sharp. And that little subtle difference, well, it seems subtle, right? To our fingers, it seems like a subtle difference. Musically, you've changed from the 1 chord to the 3 chord. So there's your takeaway. The difference between the 1 chord and the 3 chord is a 1 note difference, right? 2 notes stay the same, and 1 note goes back half a step. Such a subtle difference, okay? A to C sharp minor. And I chose that to start on here, not just because, hey, alphabetically I start on A, but because visually it's a pretty easy to recognize image, right? Hey, Joseph Galasso, welcome. Okay, so I'm going to put a big Roman numeral 1 next to the A chord, and then a little lowercase Roman numeral 3 next to the C sharp minor, okay? All right, so let's do the same thing, but with, I'm going to skip over C major for a second. I'm saving C major. D. While I'm writing this down, if D is the 1 chord, who out there knows what the 3 chord is going to be? D is the 1 chord. We're in the key of D major. D is in Delta, the Connecticut River Delta. That's where I am right now. If D is the 1 chord, everybody, the 4 chord is going to be, the 3 chord is going to be some kind of minor chord, because in this world that we're living in, which is a very common diatonic world, the 3 chord is always going to be minor. Okay. If D is the 1 chord, the 3 chord, you're getting closer and closer. Willie Snyder and Live to Fly. You guys got it. Live to Fly, you get the trophy because you actually said F sharp minor. Willie Snyder said F sharp, so close. You get the runner-up trophy. Okay. F sharp minor. So again, visually, there's my D chord. And you can see one note. Remember, the whole point of going from the 1 chord to the 3 chord, the whole point is one note goes back a half step, and there it is in the F sharp minor. In fact, I would strongly recommend playing F sharp minor with a little partial bar, the 3 skinny strings. And again, if you guys want an example of a song that goes from the 1 chord to the 3 chord, I know you want an example, and I have an example for you. That's why I skipped over C for a second. Okay, so you get where we're going with this? I'm going to E. E is not a particularly handy one for our purposes. Well, here's a quick thing. If you're good with D to F sharp minor, just move that concept up 2 frets, and you have E to G sharp minor. E to G sharp minor. Now, I know that most of you don't play E this way on a regular basis, but in terms of, hey, it's a teachable moment. E to G sharp minor. That's a 1-3 chord progression in the key of E. It's just 2 frets up the neck from the D to F sharp minor. Okay, but what I really want to get to is F to A minor. Sure, why not? Just scooch that over. F, there we go. F to A minor. We're going to do F and G. While I'm writing out F to A minor, who knows what the 3 chord is going to be in G? If G is 1, because it's what we're going to do in a second. If G is 1, what is the 3 chord? You can do this. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, F to A minor is a fun one. A little bit of music theory here to wake you up. F, A minor. Okay, here it comes. All right. Now, not all of you may be awesome at F. That's totally okay, but your brains are working, and so your brain can see what we're about to experience here, okay? So don't worry about how great you are at F at the moment. And if you are great at F, well, isn't that special? Give yourself a pat on the back, but stick with me, okay? All right, so remember this whole idea. The 1 chord, going to the 3 chord, you only have to change one note. But you might say, wait a minute, A minor looks totally different from F. Totally, right? Totally different. A minor is easy compared to F. So wait a minute, is this the exception? No, there's no exception. What happens is when I grab this F chord, I'm grabbing the 4-string F chord, no 2 bass strings, just, okay? The note F during the F chord is going to change to the note E to make it an A minor chord. When I go to the 3 chord, the A minor chord, well, guess what? We have 2 Fs. When I grab F the way I'm grabbing it, 4 treble strings, little bar at the 1st fret with my index finger, it's sort of a standard 4-string F. Okay, so both of those Fs are going to go backwards 1 fret. They're both going to turn into E's. Well, if the skinny string F on the 1st string of the skinny E string, if that turns into an E, it becomes an open string. Oh, and the F that my ring finger is touching on the 4th string, D string, 3rd fret, well, if that goes backwards 1 fret, which it is, I end up with an A minor chord. So even though it's not as quick, the visual change might not seem quite as obvious immediately, the same thing happened. The Fs of an F chord turned into E notes. They were F notes, they turned into E notes, and the result is an F to A minor chord change. But if that freaks you out a little bit, then you're gonna love G. Oh, let's look in the chat. Who knows the 3 chord? It's gonna be minor. A to Z me says B something. Poopa John says B. Yeah, I'm not gonna accept it until someone says the word I'm looking for, the magic word. Starts with M and ends with Einer. cracking myself up. That deserves a rim shot. There we go. If G is the one chord, what's the three chord? Somebody say it. Somebody say it. Come on, say it the right way. Say it like a grown-up. B minor. But was it G as the one chord? Turns into a B minor. Now, I know you guys all play G just fine, right? You do, right? Okay, but B minor, hold the phone. What is up with B minor? I'm going to illustrate B minor, I think, as a three-finger, three-note. Yeah. Okay, so G, if G is the one chord, A to Z, me knows, B minor, B minor is the three chord. But take a look, my guitar friends. G and B minor look nothing alike. 0, 0, 0, right? They don't look anything. It's an absolute horrible example if a teacher wants to show how visually, smooth the transition is, right, between the one chord and the three chord. Horrible example, right? It just doesn't work well. Now, that is not your fault or my fault. That is the layout, so to speak, of the guitar. It's the way the strings are on a guitar. It's not always convenient to illustrate every possible thing with every possible chord change. And I would blame the G chord. The G, in this particular case, the G chord is a bunch of open strings, 3 open strings, 3 fretted strings, and that's the absolute easiest way to play a G chord, but it doesn't lend itself well as an example, as a visual example of the one chord changing to a 3 chord. If you're curious, though, let's see. We're going to get to our song in a minute. Instead of doing G the way I illustrated there, if you did G with the F formation, okay? Trying to get this lined up right visually. Okay, it feels like an F chord, but I'm 2 frets higher, right? My little bar's at the 3rd fret. If you did G that way, then it makes much more sense. The 2 Gs on the 1st string and the 4th string, the 2 G notes that you're producing on those 2 strings, both of those go backwards. I'm going to add one more dot here. Okay. I got a 4-finger B minor now. Both of those go backwards, and you do end up at that B minor chord. But you'd have to start, if you wanted to be totally visually accurate, you'd have to start with G in that closed position based on the 3rd fret, and then it would make much more sense going to B minor. Okay. But now, if you guys know one thing about me, I love being able to take a concept and illustrate it with a real song that we've all heard, or many of us have heard. Knock on wood. So I'm going to pause for the cause here. Livestream brought to us by good old lemon lime Gatorade. Who knows where the name Gatorade comes from? Sure you do. Put it in the chat. Why is it called Gatorade? There's a reason, right? Someone from Florida, hint, hint. Someone from Florida might know why it's called Gatorade and how Gatorade got its start. We are about to play a song that is going to involve a ton of C to E minor. And at first, I'm going to write it like this. Before I commit my Sharpie to paper, I'm going to double check. C to E minor. Now, some of you are saying, hey, Charlie Bigo, there you go, Willie Snyder, the Florida Gators, right? They developed this drink that they thought, correctly, I guess, would be good for their football players. And it ended up being called a Gatorade, and the rest is history. Okay. So I'm just double checking once, twice. Okay. First of all, I'm going to show you the chord progression, and then we will talk about having some fun. Okay. The song, you ready? The song this is not our play along song, by the way. Although maybe someday it will be, but It's going to illustrate the 1-3 chord progression. The song is David Bowie's Space Oddity. C, ground control to major tom. There's the E minor. And you do it again. Ground control to major tom, E minor again. So far, the chord progression, 1, 3, 1, 3. Now, for some of you, those are the easiest chords you've ever played, and you're thinking, now's a good time to have a snack, and I'll come back to the live stream in 5 minutes when this is done. Oh, don't go anywhere, because I have a challenge for you. The song continues on basically with A minor to D. This is what I would call the verse of Space Oddity. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. The rest of the song, the chords are not particularly difficult chords, but there's a lot of F and F minor. Okay, so technically we're going to do 4 counts on each one of these chords. You could say this is a song in 4/4 time, and every chord lasts for 1 measure. Okay? All right. So now this song is not great for my sing voice. I either have to sing it too low or too high, but we get ground control to major tom. There's the E minor. Do it again. Ground control to major tom. Here comes the A minor. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Okay, A minor to D. All right, easy peasy, right? By the way, I checked my YouTube videos, and I've done a whole bunch of David Bowie songs on my YouTube channel. I have not done Space Oddity. What's my problem? I think you know why. I think because it relies on a lot of Fs and F minors. And, I didn't want to put everyone on the spot. Hey, Bruce from Sydney, Australia. Hey, Stephen Mannion. Okay, so, by the way, do keep the questions coming in, okay? Put those question marks in advance because that's why we're here. Okay, so now here's the challenge. For those of you hot shots who are like, that's the easiest song you've ever played. Oh, my gosh. Okay. We're going to play C and E minor up the neck, but you're still going to see what I talked about before. You're still going to see how 1 note changes when you change from any 1 chord to any 3 chord. And I'll give you an example. I think I might write this out in tab because that might be the easiest way to illustrate it. Okay, we got 6 lines going across in a good old tab. I'm going to put this paper down here. While I'm writing this, don't go anywhere. The first C we're going to play is a 3-5-5 C. And that's going to lead, remember E minor is the next chord. That's going to lead to a 3-5-4 E minor. Can you see that okay? I know my printing is getting a little bit smaller. Okay. C, 3-5-5, treble strings, or those are the treble strings, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 5th fret. E minor, 3-5-4. What? There it is. Spotted in the wild. A real song with a 1-3 chord progression. Ground control to major tom. Where 1 note changes. There's only 1 note difference between the 1 chord and the 3 chord, and there it is. C for 4 counts. Ground control to major tom. Right? So why stop there? The examples keep coming. What about doing C just a little bit up the neck? 8, 8, 9. Ooh. I should make you guys figure out where the E minor is. Okay, so check it out. That is a C chord. You guys know one of those numbers has to change. 2 can stay the same. Dun, dun, dun. What number is going to change? Well, we go into E minor. I'll tell you right now, that 9 is the note E. So that's not going to be the one that changes. For E minor, we need an E, a G, and a B. E as in echo, G as in golf, B as in Bravo. So we don't need that C. We don't need 8 on the skinny string. That is the one that's going to change. It was 8, 8, 9. Now for E minor, it's 7, 8, 9. There you go. Now, these are not difficult chord changes exactly, but if you've never done them before, yeah, a little bit difficult, right? Here's the C, 8, 8, 9. I'm barring both the 8s. Whatever you do, don't do the 2 8s with 2 separate fingers. Don't do it. I know a couple of you are doing it right now. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Just clamp down with one finger. Arch over your middle finger onto the 3rd string 9, the G string 9. There's your C. Ground, control, to major. Now, really, everything has to, has to adjust for the 7, 8, 9 tom. But if you want to really cheat, I'm on that E minor now. Index 7 on that skinny E string. Yes, you could have that index finger zip up to 8, squish it in there. Ground control to major tom. I mean, yeah, you could do that. Okay, you could do that. I don't mind. The main thing is that you see that, 1-3 chord change. 1 finger changes, 1 note changes. Okay, last one. How about the C chord played in the D formation? It's going to feel like a D chord, but you're going to be jacked up way up to 12, 13, 12. Go ahead, grab that chord. Those of you who have a guitar handy. 12, 13, 12. That is a C chord, way up high. One of those notes has to change to become an E minor chord. Hey, this is not a coincidence. The first example, the change came on the 3rd treble string. The 5 changed to a 4. Okay. The second example, the change came on the 1st treble string. Changed from an 8 to a 7 on the skinny E string. So we've got a chord situation where the 3rd string has a change. We got a chord situation where the 1st skinny string has a change. It may not come as a shock to you, and it is not a coincidence that this final one, it is the 2nd treble string, the B string, that is going to be the change. 12, 12, 12 is E minor. 12, 12, 12. Okay, so way up high. Now, I hope you guys all know that you have 2 dots at the 12th fret. For no reason that is clear to me, my Martin guitar, I got my Martin guitar here today. It has 2 dots at the 7th fret. I do not understand this. And complete coincidence, I believe my Harmony Sovereign acoustic guitar also has 2 dots at the 7. Most guitars do not have 2 dots, and I own the only 2 in the world that have that. I don't know. Do me a favor. Never look for 12 by counting up from 0. Don't do it, please. Please, I beg you. Just look for those 2 dots, and you got your 12 right there, okay? There's C, 12, 13, 12. Ground control to major tom. And that little 12, 12, 12, just grab it with 1 finger. Sounds a little bit out of tune to me, but ground control to major tom. Okay, so there's your space oddity exercise. You're playing the 1 chord and the 3 chord from space oddity 3 different ways, 4 different ways if you include the original, let's call it the cowboy chord C and the cowboy chord E minor, right? Now let's say you say to yourself, hey, I can play that, and you do it and they sound good. Excellent. Now your job is to memorize it, Memorizing 1 thing up the neck can open up a lot of stuff. It can unlock the fretboard. You guys know I have mixed feelings about that cliche. You're going to unlock the fretboard forever, I don't know. But that aside, memorizing even 1 thing begins to unlock the fretboard. If you like that phrase, then this is how you do it. You memorize, hey, 12, 12, 12 is E minor. Got it. If that's your takeaway from tonight, that's awesome. Because if 12, 12, 12 is E minor, 10, 10, 10 is D minor. And in between, at 11, 11, 11, that's what you could call E flat minor or D sharp minor, right? So all of a sudden, you're like, hey, wait a minute, I can play minor chords up and down the neck with 1 finger. You might not remember The world may not long remember what happened here today. But you might remember, hey, I can play minor chords with one finger. Great. So there's your challenge. Number one, wrap your head around the concept that when the one chord changes to the three chord, it's a one note difference. By the way, this is true of people playing these chords on any instrument, piano, banjo, right? Because chords are chords, they're concepts, right? So there's a one note difference between the one chord and the three chord. And that one note is only a fret or a half step away, it's a half step different between the two chords. So there's a concept, there's the execution, which is what we're talking about right here, right? And then there's the memorization, right? Why not memorize that piece of paper right there? 3 different ways of going from C to E minor, all up and down the neck. You play it for a couple of days, you'll have it memorized, even without trying to, right? But if you can play C major 3 different ways up the neck, well, C major and say B major, B as in Bravo, they're neighbors, right? They're 1 fret apart. Now you know 3 B majors up and down the neck because it's right next to C major, right? If C is 3-5-5, B is 2-4-4, right? 1 fret behind it. D is 2 frets in the other direction. C is 3-5-5, D is 5-7-7, So you memorize something and then you begin applying. I refer to this as the musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? No H, I, J, none of that stuff. And the twist in the musical alphabet is how we have some neighbors. What are the neighbors? Best chums. B and C are neighbors. They're only 1 fret apart. They're neighbors. They touch each other. And E and F, those are neighbors. So when you think about the musical alphabet, and I hope you do, because it helps out with stuff like this, I hope you remember that E and F, E anything, E minor, the note E, the E major scale, E anything is only 1 fret away from F anything. And same thing with B and C. Everything else, though, you have to skip up a fret. A C major scale, you got to move all those notes up 2 frets to get a D major scale. You see what I'm saying? Okay. All right. So Space Oddity by the late, great David Bowie. Great example of a 1 chord going to a 3 chord because he doubles down on it. Let's go back to the actual chord change of the tune right there. He does it twice. And it has that cool, da, 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 that you can the vocal when he's strumming the C chord, ground control to major, when he says tom, he's literally singing the specific note that changes when you go from the 1 chord to 3 chord. A little bit of a coincidence, but maybe not, ground control. Yeah, I'm singing the C, I go up to D, C, B, Okay, thank you everybody for indulging me here, because you guys know I love a little chord family. I love a little discussion of this stuff. And like I said, I love applying it to a song. So it's not theoretical anymore, right? Not theoretical. You will see tons of 1-3 chord progressions out there in the world. And one more twist, and then I'll check out to see what questions you guys are putting in the chat. One more twist. Later in the tune, very, very soon after this part, when he sings, this is ground control to major tom, he twists this a little bit. And you guys can get these chords off of ultimateguitar.com or whatever. When the song moves on to this is ground control to major tom, a little bit of a twist, and it's a good little coda to our conversation here. This is ground control to major tom. What is that chord? It's an E7. Wait a minute. I thought the 3 chord, it was E minor. He's playing E7. Remember this conversation we had last time about secondary dominance? We had this conversation last live stream. So this is ground control to major tom. There's David Bowie doing a 1-3 chord progression, C to E7. Okay, he's borrowing the E7 chord from a different key. Just a temporary thing. But that would still be described as a 1-3 chord progression, except instead of writing the 3 as that little lowercase Roman numeral 3, you write it as big uppercase Roman numeral 3. And the next chord is F, and then F minor, and so on. You can get these. I encourage you to get these chords off of ultimateguitar.com and play along. As a guitar teacher, I like how this is a slow tune, So, and there's a lot of nice folky acoustic guitar strumming, but there's a couple quirky chords that pop up. There's a B flat chord. It's all right. Okay, so Martian Murray. I'm going to say a few hellos. Martian Murray, thank you for being here. I see a few other names pop in to the chat here. I thought Ozzy, thank you for being here. Okay, so Puba John is making a good point. The chord changes match with the melody. Yep, you got it exactly. That's the chords exist, you could say, to support the melody. That's why they're there. People can sing a cappella, acapulco. People can sing a cappella, and that's great. When at the Super Bowl, anybody know who is singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl tomorrow? I do not, but I bet we'll all recognize the name. If someone knows who's singing put it in the chat. So in general, the 3 or more notes that make up a chord, because remember, chords can have 4 notes as part of the chords. Chords can have 5 notes, 6 notes, you name it. Then now they get more and more kind of ambiguous and jazzy as you add more notes. But the chord, the notes that make up any chord contain some of the same notes that the singer is singing on top. And I won't open up that can of worms, but basically, if the singer is singing a big loud C, the chord underneath it better contain the note C as one of the notes, right? I mean, come on, you got to support the singer, right? So in general, that's what's going on. If a singer sings multiple notes, la da 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 da, there may be just one chord, but the chord still contains the notes of the chord are reflected in the melody the singer is singing, even if the singer is singing notes that are not in the chord, because maybe it's a la di do di da da da, some fancy run. That's okay. But matching the chords and the melody, and there's rules for the appropriate chord for the melody, and there's also people who don't follow the rules and go by their ear, and sometimes those results are way more interesting than following the rules and deciding, well, the singer is singing this, so I guess I have to play this. And not necessarily, but yes, there are rules. Reba McEntire, A to Z Me, Googled it for us. Reba McEntire is singing the national anthem. Okay, so it's possible that Reba McEntire is going to be singing it a cappella with no chords supporting her. And we need to support her. Anybody, man, who gets up in front of that Super Bowl crowd and sings a cappella, not easy. Then again, there may be who knows? We'll learn together. We'll learn together tomorrow what kind of support chords she has. Okay. I'm scrolling up. I saw some questions I don't want to miss any. As I always say, friends, if you ask a question and I don't seem to be answering it, don't be shy about putting it in the chat again, okay? Don't be shy. Johnny Mobasher, I see your question. Charlie, I see your question. They're both excellent questions that I look forward to getting to in a moment. I'm going to make sure I don't miss anything. Bruce, I see your question. I might start with your question, Bruce. You guys think BM is funny, B minor? You think, that you get that brings out some immature giggles? Try talking to a student at length about their G string. Someone's having problems with their G string. Yeah, laugh away. Do we have do we have a laugh track? We don't. We just have this. Yeah, that's the world we live in. G strings. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with Bruce's question. Bruce, you had questions about techniques and tricks to help with ear training. It's funny because my answer 20 years ago would have been different than my answer right now. My answer right now is get an app on your phone because it's free. And I have an app called Perfect Ear, and I haven't used it as much as I intended to, but there's lots of ear training apps. But I would for sure get a free app on your phone, and you can't go wrong. You know, you're stuck in traffic or something. I've been enjoying my commute. I moved a couple years ago, and I now have a 25-minute commute, give or take. I used to have a 4-minute commute, and I've been using my 25-minute commute, you guys, been doing different things, you know, in the car, working on my singing, listening to different podcasts, trying to become more educated about music, and nothing like. And now I don't want to go back. I now I need my 25-minute commute. You know, I would miss it if I didn't have it anymore. Willie, yes, the X means when you see a chord diagram and there's an X, it means don't include that string. So I'm just grabbing this up here, like A minor with X over the fat string. Yeah, that's what it means. Don't include that string. Sometimes it's because it truly makes a bad sound. Other times the X'd out string is actually, it is harmonious, but if you included it, you'd have to change the name a little bit. So if you strum an A minor chord and you include the open the open E string, the fat open E string, it would then be called an A minor / E, you know, which is fine. It's no big deal. It's legal, but it changes the name. So that's why teachers like me tend to say put an X over it. Secondly, it can be kind of low and boomy and kind of distracting to have that big boomy E down there. So that's another reason to not. Okay, so Bruce, back to the ear training. I'm sure there's websites that probably have more to offer than just an app would. Probably more something that would involve you more. Thing about an app is it's probably going to access the microphone on your phone, and you know, it's possible that you could you sing into your phone and have the ear training. Well, I don't know. So I wish I had more, Bruce, to say. I wish I had more things like, here's 10 things you could do to improve your ear training. I'll tell you what, though, and I'm not even joking, just asking that question, just being aware that the ear is essentially, you could treat it like a muscle, and the more you work on your musical ear, the better, the more perceptive it gets. I guess I'll add one thing. Music theory helps with the ear training because you know what you're listening for. You know, when someone says, is this a major chord or a minor chord? And if you listen, you know, if you know that the difference between, say, an A major and an A minor is one note goes from a C sharp down to a C, and you just know that that's the definition of A major compared to the definition of A minor, and then your ear hears a sound getting lower. Well, that, to my mind, that would help you with your ear training, because you not only are you listening closely, but you have a clearer understanding of what is going on. And then you could say, oh, I hear the sound is lower than I expected. It's going from a major chord down to a minor chord, that kind of thing. That would help. I will give it some thought, because I obviously want to, you know, I believe that we should all be working on our ears, and there's big benefits to that. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Johnny Mobasher asked a great question. Why is a 3-chord called a 3-chord? Why is the 1 chord called a 1 chord? Excellent question. And do I have some room? Yes. I'm going back to my chord changes of Space Oddity, the first part of Space Oddity. If we're in the key of C, probably not a shock that we call the C chord the 1 chord. And at the bottom of this page, I'm going to write the 8 notes of a C major scale, which is a beautiful scale because the 8 notes just move alphabetically: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Those are the notes, individual notes. So I'm talking about chords for a second. Those are the individual notes of a C major scale. Okay, so if we're in the key of C, then the C major scale is our reference point. We talk about the C major scale all the time if the song is in the key of C. So nicknames, these numbers are nicknames. We nickname the C chord the 1 chord because in this situation, in this hypothetical situation, we're in the key of C for space oddity. Actually, it's not hypothetical at all. The reason why we nickname E minor the 3 chord is E is the 3rd note of the C scale. These are just nicknames, okay? And these are temporary nicknames because in some other context, the C chord would not be called the 1 chord. I'll give you a quick example. In the key of G, G would be the 1 chord. You with me? Okay. Well, G, A, B, C, the C chord in that context would be called 4 chord. If G is 1, 2, 3, 4, G, A, B, C, C is nicknamed the 4 chord. So don't get too attached to C being the 1 chord. This is temporary, you know. If you're playing space oddity, though, C is the 1 chord. Oh, here's a little quiz question for you. Since I see this right here, I can't resist. Because C is the 1 chord, and you know E is the 3 chord, written in lowercase because it's minor, what nickname are we going to give A minor? Looking for a number. And what nickname are we going to, oh, this is kind of cool, D. Yeah, so what nickname are we going to give D? I just noticed, some of you noticed what I just noticed. We'll get to that in a second, okay? So who knows? A minor, I'm refreshing the chat here. What nickname are we going to give the A minor chord? Yes, music fan. Music fan for the win. Some of you may know that music fan and I are married. Good job, music fan. Yeah, A minor is known as the 6th chord, and we're going to write it lowercase, little VI, a little lowercase for that. And what nickname are we going to give the 2 chord? Willie Snyder got it as well. What nickname are we going to give the D chord? And it's a D major chord. Waiting. Do. Willie Snyder says the 2 chord. You got it. And because it's D major, we're going to write it as a big uppercase Roman numeral 2 right there. Yeah. And some of you, music fan, you got that as well. Excellent. Some of you may know why a little thing just popped into my head. In the key of C, in any key, the 2 chord is minor. But David Bowie wrote a song here where the 2 chord is major. Is he allowed to do that? Sure. Not just because he's David Bowie, but because rules are meant to be broken. So he elected to play the 2 chord as a major chord. That's all right. It just caught me by surprise for a second. Like, whoops. Okay, so interestingly, I wonder, okay, so I got to check my tuning real quick. What I want to do, bear with me, friends, what I want to do is C. There we go. It was in tune when I bought it. Yeah, I know. Okay, so I'm going to play it for the fun of it, and I'm going to do D major, just like Mr. Bowie composed. And then we're going to do with D minor, and we'll see what effect it has. D minor would be the diatonic chord, the appropriate diatonic chord, the chord that fits the key. The 2 chord is supposed to be a minor chord if we're staying within the key, but he's borrowing the D major. You could say he's borrowing the D major from another key. Okay, how are we doing? We're ready for this? Sure. So I'm going to play those chord changes. I'm going to do the D. I'm going to play it right the first time. Ground control to major tom. We know this part. Ground control to major tom. Okay, here comes the A minor. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Now if we did D minor instead, take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Doesn't sound bad. Hey, there's some ear training for you. Do you hear the chord difference? I'm going to do the D major. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Here comes D minor. Take your protein pills, put your helmet on. Doesn't sound bad, right? It doesn't sound, you know, and you know why it doesn't sound bad? The note he's singing is not the note that is different between D major and D minor. The note happens to be F sharp. D major has an F sharp, D minor has F natural. In this case, both the chords technically work because David Bowie is singing the note D. So he chose to play D major for a certain strong major sound. But playing D minor musically, you know, it would still support the vocal because it's got that D note in it. But D minor, to my ear, I'll tell you my reaction. D minor just sounds kind of wimpy. Now that I know how the song really goes, and I've got it in my head, when I went to D minor, it didn't sound very strong. Kind of cool, right? Cool. Okay. Charlie Beagle, I see your question. Okay, so Johnny, there's the answer. The 1 chord, the 3 chord, these are just nicknames. In fact, musicians use these a lot. Because as long as everyone has a little music theory knowledge, you're on the same page, you can throw around this information very quickly. You know, don't forget the chorus goes to the 6 chord, not the 4 chord. You know, got it. Okay, you know, and you become so adept at juggling this information. It's just a very quick way to talk about things, and to remember them too. You know. Okay. Charlie Beagle says, how do you know what key you're in when you put a capo on? That gets back to the musical alphabet. You need a starting chord. I mean, let's use a chord as a starting point. So you need a starting chord. And I'm going to choose an E major. I'm going to get my capo handy. You guys know I have this little shub capo. I love my shub capo. I know the Kaiser capo, the one-hand capos are the cool ones to have. All the cool kids have the Kaiser capos or some one-hand capo. I know. But until I wear this one out, man, I love my shub capo. I recommend it. They've been around forever. Built like a truck. E major. You put a capo on. Putting the capo on the 1st fret. So I want you to think of advancing 1 notch in the musical alphabet. Remember the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but you got the in-between stuff, right? A sharp, B. Or you could also call it A, B flat, B. Same, 2 different names for the same thing. I know, it's crazy. It's madness. But E and F, remember, everlasting friends. That's how you can remember forever, never, never, never. E and F are neighbors. Just think everlasting friends. Okay. Capo at the 1st fret. Here's my E chord, but it's not really an E chord because I've changed my reference point. My E chord is now an F chord. So if I was playing in the key of E, but I put a capo on the 1st fret, not surprising, by the way, that the very 1st chord, it's somewhat predictable. The very 1st chord of a song is also the 1 chord, is the key you're in. You can't always count on that, but you can take an educated guess. Okay. Songs in the key of E, you're banging on the E chord to start off. You realize I can't sing. It's too low for me to sing. Got to change the key. So, hey, put the capo on the 1st fret. See if the key is better for you. Meanwhile, the piano player wants to know, wait, what'd you just do? Oh, I just put a capo on. Don't worry about it. The piano player says, of course I'm worried about it. But the E chord the piano player is just playing sounds horrible now because you're not doing an E chord. Your left hand thinks you're doing an E chord. Okay, you're now playing an F chord. Oh, and you know why I chose E major here as an example? Because in effect, those of you who are really into bar chords, that capo is now barring across. And I'm going to lay my pointer finger on top of the capo. Where we go here? Okay. You know, in effect, I know the camera angle is kind of weird. In effect, that capo is my bar, you know? So I am playing an F chord. It's just that my left hand thinks it's an easy E major chord. Okay, so every time I move the capo up the neck, and again, I'm using E major. I had to pick some chord. Why not E major? Every time I move the capo up the neck, what feels like an E major chord advances one notch in the musical alphabet. Notice I didn't say one letter of the musical alphabet, because capo at the first fret, E sounds like F. Capo at the second fret, E sounds like F sharp. So I didn't advance a whole letter of the alphabet. I just went another notch up the alphabet, right? F sharp. I'm not going to move my capo each time, but I want you to imagine I'm moving my capo each time. E with a capo at the second fret sounds like F sharp. E with a capo at the third fret sounds like G. Fourth fret sounds like G sharp. Fifth fret sounds like A. Then comes A sharp. Then comes B. Watch out, B and C, best chums. That's the other exception. B sounds, B up one fret sounds just like, turns into a C chord. Okay. So, Charlie, if you know the key you're already in, if you have no doubt that you're in the key of, you name it, then you have to factor in how many frets you go up, how high the capo is, and you have to advance that many. You have to mentally advance that many notches through the musical alphabet. Okay, so I'll just give you one more example. I learned a song in the key of C. It's too low for me. I got to capo up. I capo up to the fourth fret. Okay, so my left hand still thinks I'm in the key of C. I'm doing C to A minor, to G, maybe an F chord. Okay, but the piano player says, "What is this new key you're in? What is this? Witchcraft?" Okay, so capo on 4. I'm going to mentally, right? I'm thinking C. That's my starting point. I'm going to go up 4 notches, so to speak, from C. Not 4 alphabet letters. It's not always that simple. 4 notches in the musical alphabet. Okay, and that's going to be the new key. C up 1 fret is the key of C sharp. Key up 2 frets, the key of D. Up 3 frets, the key of D sharp. Up 4 frets, the key of E. You tell the piano player we are now in the key of E. And hopefully the piano player is perfectly comfortable transposing, because, now they've got some work to do. The piano does not have a capo, except some keyboards have a transpose function. You guys have heard me mention this, I believe. Where you just tap on a button, and it in effect, it's an electronic capo. It's a beautiful thing for those of us with limited piano skills. But otherwise, they just have to know we're spoiled. The capo spoils us without a doubt. But that's the hand we've been dealt. We'll take it. Okay. How are we doing on time? It's just about time for our play along. I turned off my phone, and I knew I would have to turn it back on. So we'll get to the guitar, the weekly guitar play along in a minute. I want to make sure, because I saw some questions. DJ, I see your question about diminished. Got it. We'll get to that in a second. And again, if you asked a question and you think, how did he miss my question? I put the question marks in front. How did he miss it? Just ask the question again. Okay, don't be shy. Okay, we got, a little after 6 o'clock Connecticut time. I live to fly, by the way. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. You guys are always welcome to support what we're doing here with a super chat. That's that $, looks like a little dollar bill kind of thing at the bottom of the chat. And that's one way to support what we do here. Don't forget, another way you can support our community here is to buy something from Sweetwater, but use the affiliate link. use the affiliate link at the very top of this chat. Can you guys scroll up? I assume you can scroll up to the top of the chat. I hope you can. Or in the description of this video is my Sweetwater affiliate link. Okay. Ralph from Arkansas. Hey, Ralph. Hey, Bod from Scotland. Martian Murray, I see your question about C Lydian. I talking about like throwing in the D chord during a song in the key of C. That's not how I think of it. I'm sometimes I have to go into a different channel when I think about modes. So I don't want to. You're asking, bring up a perfectly good point. At the moment, I just think to myself, oh, David Bowie chose to do the 2 chord as a major to get a certain effect. You know, that's all. And I don't, at the moment, I don't go any deeper than that. You know, I don't. That part, I don't feel the need to connect to any bigger music theory thing. Because it's just a songwriter thing. It's a cool effect he gets, and then he goes back to the key of C again. So, yeah. So I just, for our purposes right now, I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, DG, a diminished chord. Diminished chord involves taking one of your notes and moving it back a fret, the same way a minor chord would be. And a minor chord involves taking a note and moving it back a fret. And let me... I want to find a good example. A convenient example is really what I'm saying. D, E. I think I'm going to choose G minor, going to a G diminished. Okay. Short answer, flat the 3rd, flat the 5th. You've got a diminished chord. You got the 1, the flat 3, and flat 5. Some of you are like, got it. That's all I need to know. I'm going to illustrate, though, with a G major after I sneeze. Let me sneeze for 1 second. Hey, I turned down the mic. Yeah, I try. Hey, first sneeze, 35 live streams. First sneeze. To my knowledge, is the first sneeze. Okay. I'm going to illustrate this with a G major triad. Yeah. In a way that feels a little bit like an F. Index finger, barring the 2 treble strings at the 3rd fret. That happens to be the note G, the root note, the note D, and then I'm reaching over my middle finger, 3rd skinny string, G string, 4th fret. G major chord. It's like what you do for an F chord, but 2 frets higher. Imagine a 3-note F chord, 3-string F chord, but 2 frets higher. 3, 3, 4. Okay. To make it minor, we flat one of those notes. We move it backwards 1 fret. It happens to be the note the middle finger is on. It's on the 4th fret on the G string. It's going to turn into go backwards to the 3rd fret of the G string. Ooh, that opens up a beautiful opportunity for a 1-finger minor chord, which I referenced earlier. So 3, 3, 3 is a G minor chord. We just flatted the 3rd. Okay, we flatted the 3rd degree of a G major scale. To make it diminished, you have to flat the 5th degree of the scale as well. Where's the 5th degree? It's that D, 2nd string, 3rd fret D. We're going to keep the G, 1st skinny string, 3rd fret. We're going to keep the B flat, 3rd skinny string, G string, 3rd fret. The D on the 2nd string, 3rd fret has to go back to 2 on the 2nd string. Guess what we have? Well, we do have a G diminished chord. And you know what it feels an awful lot like? It feels an awful lot like a D7 chord, D7, up 1 fret, but no open strings, no 3 bass strings at all, just. And there's one example of a diminished chord where the root note just happens to be on the high first E string. There's the 1, G note. Remember, this is a G diminished. And there's the G. Second string, 2nd fret, that's note D flat. That's the flatted 5th note of a G scale. And 3rd string, 3rd fret, B flat, that's the flatted 3rd note. So we have a 1, a flat 5, and a flat 3. And that is simply one way of playing a diminished chord on the guitar. And I'm going to leave it at that. There is such a thing as a diminished 7 chord, and that is the same formula. You have the 1 note, 1st degree of the scale, a flatted 3rd, flatted 5th, same as this, and you throw in a double flatted 7th. I'll just show it to you real quick because this is really satisfying to play. It contains those 3 notes that we just played. This is going to be a G diminished 7 if you want the full title. But we're also going to grab the D string, 4th string, 2nd fret. I think that is a parallelogram shape. My index is on the 4th string, 2nd fret. My ring finger, 3rd string, 3rd fret. Middle finger, 2nd string, 2nd fret. Here's my root note, my G. Pinky, 1st string, 3rd fret. So it's still a G diminished chord, but officially it's a G diminished 7, not the G diminished triad. Oh, what a great chord. No 2 fat strings, no ear A strings. And you know what you can do with that chord? You can move it up the neck and get that great dramatic. I always think of those old movies where someone's tied to the train tracks. You know, it's a movable, portable diminished chord. Okay, Bod, I see your question. Joseph, oh, you guys this is like great questions. You're gonna drive me to drink my Gatorade. And A to Z me, I see your point too about Joseph Galasso, I see your point about Eleanor Rigby. Oh, you guys are on fire tonight, man. I need to drink more Gatorade just to keep up with you. I love it. I mean, this is why I'm here, you guys. I mean, I know I bring my little ideas of like things to talk about, but really those are things, in between your questions. I would just as soon talk about your questions the whole time. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, A to Z me makes a good point. Is the European perspective, the do-re-mi perspective, easier? It seems more complicated to me. Yeah, so I think what you're talking about is instead of just thinking of a scale as like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, I believe it was a monk who came up with this whole concept called solfege. I'm going to put it in the chat, solfege. And solfege is, there we go, is the a system where you say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, instead of just saying the letters of the alphabet. The letters of the musical alphabet that make up a major scale. So you and I might say C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But this system, and I'm hardly an expert, but the system was instead you say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if I understand right, was C always do? So that even if you were in a different key, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I think, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to reveal all of my ignorance. It's only been 35 live streams. I want to save some of my ignorance for, number 36. Is it easier? I think the system, I bet if you grow up with the do-re-mi system of solfege, I bet it is easier. I think it's probably what you grew up with. Long story short. I don't know. I would love to have nothing better to do. I'm totally serious than to, watch a really great YouTube tutorial on do re mi, or read a book about it on the whole solfege system, and see, because how fun to get a different perspective on stuff. You guys are very interested in David Bowie's eye color. I see. Okay. I'm learning about different things about his eye color from you guys now. Okay. Hold on, where are we here? Bod is asking a great question. When is a good time to start learning fingerstyle as a beginner? Love that question. As soon as your chords become consistent, imagine if you're still working on your C chord and you're still getting a little bit of buzzing or dead sounds, right? And then here comes your teacher saying, okay, here's a good fingerstyle pattern. And you're getting that kind of tone, right? It's not fair, Finger picking exposes every weakness in your chords, So I not only would I advise you this way, but this is exactly what I do with many of my students. I hold off on finger picking until their chords, at least a handful of chords, become more consistently perfect. Because if your A chord sounds consistently good, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, then it's nice to get your picking hand involved in doing finger picking. If someone came to me and said, all I ever want to do is finger picking, then I might, I would have the same conversation with them, and I would say, okay, well, let's, what's the easiest chord in your mind, like E minor, then I'm going to show you some basic finger picking patterns, but we're going to use E minor as the chord that you're going to hold down. We're going to do a lot with just that E minor chord. I would hold off on getting into songs. In my book, look at my pile of books around here somewhere. In my book called The Strum Pattern Bible, I think I brought it with me tonight. The Strum Pattern Bible, the ebook, available at my website, www.song-bike.com. I start off with really simple finger picking patterns, and then get a little bit harder. Most of the patterns are pretty straightforward. Okay, there's my website in the chat. Okay, so Bob, that's my first reaction to your question. It's not fair to ask someone to do too much finger picking until their chords are pretty solid. Not every chord. Oh, here's an example. Not bar chords. You don't have to be good at bar chords to start finger picking. That's different. But the basics, the ones that I call the 16 most common chords, the A minor, A7, B minor, B7, C, C7, D minor, D7, E minor, E7, F, G, G7. Those 16 right there. As you become better and better at those, at a minimum, you can get your picking hand. You can begin the process. I'll give you a quick example right now. I'm grabbing an E minor chord, and I'm just gonna try to get my right hand in the shot here. You guys know I'm doing a E minor with my left hand, so I'm going to focus on my right hand for a second. Finger picking 101. I'll make this quick. Your thumb is in charge of the 3 bass strings, and only your thumb. Your index finger is going to stay with the 3rd skinny string, the G string. Middle finger is going to be in charge of the 2nd string, ring finger in charge of the 1st string, okay? So your index, middle, and ring each have their own personal string, and they're not going to change. They're going to stay with those 3 strings. 1 finger per string, again, thumb in charge of the 3 bass strings. So I got my E minor, and say this was someone's first finger picking lesson. Have them stay in the E minor, thumb on the open E string, the 6th string, index on the 3rd string, plucking up kind of towards your chin, right? Middle finger pluck the 2nd string, ring pluck the 3rd string. Ring finger pluck the 1st skinny string. Back to the middle finger on the 2nd string, index on the 3rd string, and the whole process begins again with the thumb on the 6th string. You get this kind of. So if someone was just really interested in starting off finger picking, but maybe they only had just a few chords, then I would say, okay, well, let's just do that pattern. Kind of the House of the Rising Sun. The House of the Rising Sun happens to be, in the key of A minor. So on the A minor, my thumb would start off on the 5th string. Why? Because it's the open A string. A minor chords. That makes sense to you? But my other fingers would stay doing the same thing they are doing. And aside from the fact that this pattern is, kind of smooth, kind of logical, nothing too crazy, it really, hopefully, drives home the point that your fingertips each have their own personal string, and your thumb is in charge of the 3 bass strings. So a pattern like House of the Rising Sun, it gets your ring finger accustomed to being in charge of the first treble E string, and the middle finger's in charge of the 2nd string, and so on. Johnny Midna asked, how often do you use your electric guitar compared to your acoustic? I teach almost exclusively with the acoustic guitar, just because it's so handy. I just grab it, and whether my student has an acoustic or electric, my acoustic is always kind of ready to go. One reason is I have one amp. I mean, technically I could plug 2 guitars into the same amp, but if my student's playing electric, then I just plug them into my amp. If my student's playing acoustic, I would definitely use my acoustic guitar, because, so we're comparing apples to apples, So because the vast majority of my working day is teaching, I play acoustic guitar a lot. When it's time for me to practice, I especially recently, I've been doing the majority of my practice time has been on electric guitar, because it's so fun. That's my best answer. So that's it. Teaching on acoustic guitar, unless there's a specific reason. If the student is playing electric guitar, and we're doing something that really is electric guitar oriented, just something that makes sense, maybe something with some pretty significant string bends, for example, then I might grab my electric guitar and do that. It's just so convenient to have my acoustic guitar. And again, I because I teach so much during the day, I only had 6 students today, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, only 6 students today. It's a light day. Because so much of my time is teaching time, my experience with the guitar during my waking hours is affected by whatever I'm teaching that day, whoever I'm teaching that day. So the reason I mention it that way is I don't play, or at least I try not to play too much during the lesson, enough to get the point across. But then, I don't finish my teaching day with sore hands and sore fingers. I better not. And part of that is because I just don't play that much during a 45-minute lesson. At least I try not to, not because I'm saving my muscles or saving myself, but I haven't. It's just not necessary for me to play that much. I would love to play more, I suppose, but it's just it's more important. I think it's more important for me to listen to the student, or proportionally spend more time listening to the student than me repeating the same thing over and over again. So some people who have taken lessons from me may say, I don't know, man, you definitely play during our lessons. I don't know. In my mind, I don't play as much as I could. But that's fine. That's fine with me. And the plus is that I don't finish a day of teaching 8 or 9 students with any specific aches or pains. Yeah, Joseph, I see your question. It's a great question. I'll get to that in a minute. It's a great question. Okay, Joseph is saying, hope I just lost it. Hold on, here it comes. What chord is when you just strum the open strings as you transition to the next chord? And of course, it depends exactly which 4 strings you hit. So I'm going to answer your question, but I'm also going to encourage you to not overthink it. G. There's the answer. G has those 3 open strings, right? The open 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, the B, G, and D strings. So really when you're playing, when you're strumming something, and then I have an example in a second. When you're strumming something and then you let go while you're still strumming, right, and you get to the next chord, but in the meantime there was like a brief moment you're hitting open strings. You could conceive of that as a G chord. E minor is another possibility, because E minor, think about it, you got the 3 treble strings open, so if you're hitting, especially if you include the open skinny first string in that quiet strum, it's sort of an E minor chord. So that's the textbook answer to your question. If I were to get I also want to say, don't worry about it, because the whole point of that is it goes by so fast that it doesn't matter. It's not worth stressing out over. But I'll give you an example. I'll speak out of the other side of my mouth in a second. But it's not like you have to report to the other people in the band, hey, as I'm strumming this chord, I let go early, and so you guys should know it's a such and such chord for a millisecond. But here is an exception, and I'm looking for that cute capo. Okay, I believe the performer, singer-songwriter did this on the 4th fret, capo at the 4th fret. And I'm going to do it in slow motion. When I go a little bit faster, some of you might recognize this. In slow motion, the song is an A minor to a G, but really all he's doing is letting go of the A minor and essentially brushing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings just one time, I think, and going to an F chord. And I'm going to do F as a 4-string, 3-finger F chord. So in and then it goes, when he's done with that F chord, he does that open G type of thing again to get back to the A minor. Okay, name that tune. Written by one guy and played in this style, made much more famous by another guy and played in a somewhat different style. So the reason I remember the thing I said about speaking out of the other side of my mouth, in this case, that in-between open string G is 100% significant. And if I were to tell someone, oh, the chords I just played, I would say A minor, G, F. What song is this? G, A minor, G, F, 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 G, A minor. In case some of you are like, I don't really know that. The guy who made it much more famous, he played it more like I'm gonna scroll down the checks. I know some of you, you got who was the first? A to Z, me, and Charlie Beagle, all on the Watchtower. So I believe Bob Dylan had it capoed up at the 4th fret. Could be the 3rd fret. I'm feeling the 4th fret. Remember, his left hand thinks it's an A minor chord. We know it's not really A minor. It's an A minor up 4 notches. Oh, another quiz question. Okay, you ready? If you take an A minor chord, but you move it 4 notches, the musical alphabet, what do you tell the piano player? What do you tell the bass player? You can't tell them it's an A minor chord. It's some other kind of minor chord. Think A minor, up 1 notch, 2 notches, 3 notches, 4 notches. What's the actual name of the sound I'm producing? Okay, so long story short, Bob Dylan is doing A minor for 3 counts, this open G kind of thing. And again, I'm being very focused with my pick. I'm calling it G. I'm not playing a proper G chord, but I'm playing the 3 open strings, the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd. I'm playing those 3 strings, which that is a G chord. A G chord is a triad. It's a 3-note chord. Guess what the 3 notes are? B, G, and D. Okay? So 3 A minors, 1 G, then 3 Fs, 1 G, 3 A minors. I'll never forget. I'm going to geek out for a minute. I'll never forget. I was reading some discussion of All on the Watchtower. And it wasn't analyzing, it wasn't like in a guitar magazine. It was just talking about the song, the significance of the song, whatever. And they said, I'll never forget this, it said, Bob Dylan's 2-chord sleight of hand. Like, what does that mean? 2-chord sleight of hand. Well, now you guys kind of see what they're talking about. There is a third chord, but the third chord is as he's letting go of the A minor or letting go of the F. So he sneaks a third chord in there. At least now, in hindsight, I think that's what the journalist meant, a 2-chord sleight of hand. Okay, so Bob Dylan. So yeah, does anybody know? C sharp minor says who got that? A to Z me. A to Z me. You're on fire tonight. Yes, that's a C sharp minor chord, but it feels like an A minor. So it's C sharp minor, B major to A major, C sharp minor, B A, B C sharp, and I believe that's, unless Jimi Hendrix was tuned down. But let's assume for a moment, because Jimi Hendrix often tuned his strings lower. If he didn't tune down, the chords he's producing are these, I believe it's in the same key, except he's doing up as like big bar chords. C sharp minor, B, A. But there's the C sharp minor and the A, all done as those big bar chords. Bar at 9 with the E minor formation. Here's the quick little B chord, or Bob Dylan did as a G chord. Bar at 7, E major shape. Move it back 2 frets, bar at 5, E major shape. Back up to the bar at 7, E major shape. C sharp, B, A, B, C sharp, B, A. Okay. So Many Vibes is saying, show us how it differs from Hendrix's magic of the same song. Oh, nothing wrong with using capo Many Vibes. It's not cheating, you know. Hey, Bob Dylan's playing the harmonica at the same time, you know, like the intro to his version of All on the Watchtower. So, hey, give him a break. No, nothing wrong with a capo. Hey, tell Albert Collins, the great blues player, not to use a capo. I dare you, you know. So if you take away the effects and the whole the way Jimi Hendrix blew the song into the stratosphere with the overall sound and stuff, if I were to compare the songs, like say just do them on acoustic guitar, Jimi Hendrix rhythmically, that's, to me, that's the biggest difference. How he's going like I'm actually going to start on the B major. I believe he starts like on the B major, very quickly going up to the C sharp, like 1, 2, 3. Now, to me, that rhythm is, well, not just to me, I think to anyone, that rhythm is very, very different from 2, 3, 4. Right? Bob Dylan's doing on acoustic guitar. Is that the John Wesley Harding album, I think? Yeah, probably no one was more surprised than Bob Dylan when he heard Jimi Hendrix's version of it. But I think ever since when I've seen Bob Dylan a whole bunch of times, I've never seen him play it the way he did it. He always did it more in keeping with the driving, rhythmic Jimi Hendrix way of doing it. For a while, Dylan was playing it like every concert, you know? So yeah. And again, even if Jimi Hendrix is tuned down, I'm 99.9% certain the bar's in the same place. You know, bar at 9, 7, 5. Of course, if he's tuned down, hypothetically, and you want to play along with him without tuning down, just move this whole thing backwards 1 fret. 8, 6, 4, 6, 8, 6, 4. That we could do a whole lesson on all on the Watchtower. We just did half a lesson on it, just now. So, hey, we better get to our play along song, you guys. You having fun? I'm having fun. Want to say hi to my mom. Hi, Mom. I think Mom's watching. Say hi to her. Hi to my wife. My wife may still be watching. I want to say hellos every once in a while. Okay, let's do it. Usually I spend what feels like an eternity explaining, preparing you guys for that song, play along song of the week. Not today. Let's get right down to it. Our play along song of the week. You do not need a capo. You do not need an F chord. You don't need nothing. You need a guitar. And here's what we got. I mentioned this song a while back. I thought, why not do it today? Good old Marshall Tucker Band, Can't You See? I choose these songs because of their clarity. I don't want to say they're all so simple, because that's not a very helpful descriptive word, because not everything is simple for everybody. But can't you see? Hey, man, there's the whole song right there. And for those of you who want to rock out on some lead guitar with us tonight, or potentially even with the actual recording, which I always will encourage you guys to do, some pentatonic scales. Interestingly, I'm going to encourage you guys to experiment both with the D major pentatonic based at 7 and the D minor pentatonic based at 10. And just see if I would actually encourage you, especially those of you who are more experienced lead guitar players, to zip back and forth between those two and see how you like it. For one big reason, the D minor pentatonic includes the note C, and clearly the C chord is one of the only 3 chords in the whole song, the C add 9 chord. So it could be kind of cool to move. Remember, I call this pattern the headquarters pattern. This particular way of playing the pentatonic scale: 7-10, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, 7-10, 7-10. My nickname for that is the headquarters pattern. So moving the headquarters pattern from 7s and 10s, 7s, 9s, and 10s to 10s, 12s, and 13s. I'm just going to encourage you guys to experiment with that. Some of you might be like, you know what? The minor one sounds too freaky, too bluesy, too dark. They're totally fine. But in this one particular instance, I figured I would encourage you guys to play both. Even though people, including me sometimes, will say, oh, this song is major pentatonic, this song is minor pentatonic, there could be some wiggle room, Okay, so you guys who are dying to play some lead guitar, that's the end of my discussion on lead guitar. Feel free to join in as you play this. Those of you who want to strum along with me, 4 chords. D major, love it. Please, ring finger. Whatever you do, don't let your ring finger leave the guitar. Ring finger is going to stay planted on the 2nd string, 3rd fret for the entire time, okay? Because after the D chord comes C add 9. There's the picture. Oops, there's the picture of the C add 9 right there. C add 9. You need this chord, not just for Can't You See by the Marshall Tucker Band, but for tons of other songs. Again, the ring finger, don't lift it off the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Index finger, 4th string, 2nd fret. That's the D string, 2nd fret. Middle finger, 5th string, 3rd fret. C add 9, X over the fat E string. Think of it as just like a cool version of a C chord. Okay? And not coincidentally, it morphs very nicely into a 4-finger G chord. I've never heard anyone give this G chord any other proper name. So I like calling it the 4-finger G chord because it is a 4-finger G chord. Pinky, 1st skinny string, 3rd fret. Ring finger should still be on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. The index and middle, they were on the 5th and 4th strings for the C add 9. Look at this. They just hop over the 5th and 6th strings for the 4-finger G. Okay? There are so many songs based on these 3 chords. 4 beats in each chord. I'll tell you where it's going to mess some of you guys up. So I'm going to give you a heads up right now. 4 strums on D, you got it. 4 strums on C at 9, great. 4 strums on G, great. 4 strums on the final D, but that D is different than this D in the sense that you do 4 more strums on this D. So when I say 4 beats on each, 4 counts on each, 4 strums on each, however you want to put it, it actually ends up being 8 counts on the D chord, 4 at the end, but 4 more in the beginning, okay? Don't let that mess you up. So I'm going to do it in slow motion. We will begin in less than 60 seconds. In slow motion, we got D for 4 counts, C, 4 counts, 4-finger G, back to D. I'm going to stand my D chord, right? D. I'm just doing nice boring down strums. But I'm going to throw in a few upstrokes because I can't help myself. You know, but for those of you who are less comfortable getting too crazy with the strumming because maybe you're focusing on the chord changes, great. Keep it with 4 downstrokes on each one. Okay, you ready to do this? Of course you are. We're going to skip over the cool flute intro. We're going to get right into the. We're going to take a freight train. Okay, going to get right into that. Okay, you ready? Of course you are. 4 strums in each. Those of you who want to play some lead guitar, go for it. Keep in mind, if you want to be a tasteful lead guitar player, you throw in the notes when the singer's not singing, right? But I can't stop you out there. Okay. Tell you what, let's run through the chords twice, the chord progression twice. And those of you who want to wail on some lead guitar, that's your big opportunity. Okay. Are you ready? I'll see you on the other side. 2, 3, 4. Gonna take a freight train down at the station. I don't care where it goes. Gonna climb a mountain, the highest mountain. Gonna jump off, nobody's gonna know. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman been doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman been doing to me? Gonna find me a hole in the wall, I'll climb inside and die. Come later now, a mean old woman never told me goodbye. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman been doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman been doing to me? How'd you do? All right. One of my favorite things to do as a teacher, by the way, is to strum chords while people are learning how to play lead guitar. You know, between you and me, what's going on in my mind, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this because it's fun. You know, imagine sitting with your buddy playing the guitar, except he's paying you. I know I shouldn't say that. It's just so fun. You know, what can I say? one of the better parts of my job. Okay, so yeah, Blair, you notice I was putting in some extra stuff, right? Why not? I mean, I figure after the first run through, you guys get, okay, it's 4 counts in each chord. Okay, so it's nice to hear some other stuff that is possible. And I bet some of you guys are doing stuff like that too, you know, little hammer-ons. I was, you know, doing that kind of cliche D major thing where you strum the D major, where you add your pinky, 3rd fret on the 1st string, suspend it that way, or lift off the middle finger, lift the middle finger off the 1st string and suspend the chord that way. Remember, suspended means the chord is neither major nor minor. When you're playing a D major, that 1st string, 2nd fret note, that F sharp, that's a note that makes it major. As soon as you take it off, it's neither major nor minor, it's suspended. Or if you put your pinky finger down, that also suspends the chord because the listener note a lot longer. Here's an F sharp. Okay, you get. So yeah, so fun, right, you guys? Okay, so deep down, I hope you had a good time, and I hope you come back to this video tomorrow, the next day, and play along with it, especially if there's something that you couldn't quite get. How, by the way, how is the line? Look at that dent, my ring finger. Okay, yeah, I was trying to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. My ring finger essentially was staying on that 2nd string the entire time, right? You got to do it, because why lift it off, right? Scott Rhodes is saying he did fine, but going from the G to the D, it's hard not to lift the ring finger off for a split second. Sure. Hey, Beginner Guitar Lessons, thanks for being our moderator tonight. Everyone, let's give him a round of applause. Let's give Beginner Guitar Lessons a round of applause. He's done so much for us. There we go. That one's for you, John. There we go. Take a bow, man. Take a bow. Okay. So yeah. So again, as much as I hope all of you just nailed it and you're playing some awesome pentatonic solos, that's great. But I expect that some of you had little sticking points, things that weren't quite right, or maybe you've never even tried playing lead guitar, improvising with a pentatonic scale. Then come back to this video and do it. I also want you to encourage you to do it with the actual recording, right? Only problem is it might be a little bit too fast. I mean, it's a slow tune, but I believe just now we were doing it a little bit slower than the original. So, but of course, what's better than playing along with the original recording? It's so great. Willie Snyder says, thanks for the great lesson, Jonathan. Willie, you are welcome. Live to Fly says, totally beautiful chord progression for sure. And you guys know, I gotta say this. Yes, I wrote the book on the DCG chord progression. The book is called The DCG Trick, What Famous Bands Did with Easy Chords. And this is one of the examples from the book, except I don't call it Can't You See? I call it, Marshall Tucker style or something like that. No, I used to be afraid of lawsuits. I guess I'm not afraid anymore. I don't know. John Salem says, very informative show tonight and very pleasant tune. Thanks, friends. John, you are so welcome. So that book, that DCG thing, it's about literally this chord progression and a ton of little variations. So if you're interested in that book, www.song-bike.com. And you can see what famous songwriters did with those chords, little tiny variations. So their songs would sound slightly different from each other. And some of them get a little bit harder. But by the way, anybody, you might not have known it. We were just playing Sweet Home Alabama just there. Sweet Home Alabama is like two beats on the D, 2 on the C add 9, and 4 on the G. And that's it. No D right there. Sweet Home Alabama, okay? And that's practically the whole tune there, Oh, I love it. Scott says he calls the C add 9 the Billy C because his teacher, Billy, showed him to do it, right? Yeah, we all, that's how you learn this stuff. Someday I want a chord named after me. Oh, well, I'm such a pain in the butt about making people do G with their middle ring and pinky that I'm aware that some of my students refer to this as Jonathan's G chord right there. G without the index finger being involved. Yeah, so that's going to be my claim to fame. Let's see. DG, you're working through a 12-hour night shift. Oh man, night shifts. I'm sure night shifts are tough, and 12 hours of anything is tough. Thanks for being here, DG. Um, Let me see. I'm going to check the clock. I don't know why, just because I know we probably should wrap up pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just see. Hey, now's as good a time as any to remind you guys. I would love it if you, I have a few things to tell you. Love it if you follow me on social media, because it's a way for me to give you guys lots of information, including if I ever want to switch the day or time of our live stream right here. So don't forget, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, I'm putting this in the chat, Songbike, Songbike. Just go to Facebook or Instagram or both and do a search for Songbike, and you ought to see me or my logo or something, and follow me. That's good. Second thing is, I am going to start before long an email newsletter, and it's very much going to be in the spirit of what we're doing right here. Let's say once a week, an email in your inbox, and it's going to my goal is to have, I mean, it's almost going to be a email version of what we're doing right here, with some tips and tricks and maybe links to something that's interesting. So stay tuned for that, but I'm very excited about that, and I will let you know when that's up and running. And my fantasy is that it becomes a daily thing, because I got plenty of ideas. And how cool would that be, man? You open up an email, and there's, imagine this show, maybe the highlights, four things, but it wouldn't be this, it wouldn't, the live stream would still be its own thing. But imagine open up an email and it'd be the same, the same spirit as this show, the same type of content. You guys know what I'm saying. So I'm excited about that. Okay. Am I missing any questions? I don't think so. Jerry Stillwell says, great session, learned a lot today. Excellent. One thing that crosses my mind, I forget where I heard this analogy. Oh, we haven't done chords as flags yet. We'll get to that in a second. There's some professions that when you do your job, you haven't lost anything. If you're selling potatoes, you sell 1,000 potatoes, you got to go get 1,000 more potatoes and start from scratch, right? Teaching just isn't that way, it's my time, I guess, yeah. But I'm lucky to do what I do, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm a lucky guy. Okay. Bear with me, folks. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, let's talk real quick. I know we just have a couple minutes left, but this is as good a time as any. Chords as flags. Picture a whole bunch of flags that you've seen in your life. Flag from your country, flags from all over the world, flags that are so similar to each other that you're like, wait, is that France, or is that, which one has the, which one goes this way and which one goes this way, which way are the stripes, the US of A, we're not the only red, white, and blue flag, right? We're not the only one. We have a pretty distinctive flag. But, there's other flags out there that you don't know better. You might almost think it's almost an American flag, right? So why is that significant? And this is going to be a short little thing, but hopefully it's something that maybe helps you conceive of chords. Chords have 3 ingredients minimum. A lot of flags have 3 colors, right? So if one country has red, white, and blue, another country has red, white, and green, that's interesting, right? So chords can be that same way. And this whole day started, where's my paperwork here, talking about the 1 chord changing to the 3 chord. I'm going to throw these, or say goodnight to Marshall Tucker here. Don't you love the flute on that song? I'm a flute fan. I said it. I meant it. I like a good flute on a recording. Why not? Okay, so the 1 chord changed to a 3 chord. Remember this? I made this big deal about the 1 chord changing to the 3 chord. Oh, by the way, C to E minor. Here's my C. I have 2 C notes that both change to B notes. when I go from C to E minor, the C with my pointer finger on the second string, I just let go of that when I go to E minor. What was a C is now my open B string, and the C with my ring finger, fifth string, third fret, that scooches back to the A string, fifth string, second fret. It was the A string, third fret. Now it's the A string, second fret, and there's my E minor chord. I typically wouldn't use those two fingers in that order, but so both the C's turn into B's. Yeah, okay. So red, white, and blue versus red, white, and green, right? And the A, kind of coincidentally, the 1-3 chord progression is an example of where, you know, if you think of flags in terms of their primary colors, it's a healthy way to look at things, especially because chords have minimum of three notes, and many flags are only three notes, or three colors. And the fact that the same color can be found in multiple flags all over the world. A lot of flags have some red in them, right? You know, yeah. There's only 12 notes in music, my friends. There's only 12, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the 5 sharp flat notes, right? I'll just say F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and D sharp. Could give them their flat names, but I'll leave it at that. Okay. 12 notes. When it comes down to it, only 12 notes, meaning 12 names. Of course, we have high C sharp and low C sharp and all that, but it's only 12 names. So imagine only 12 colors. Bear with me. Only 12 colors. And every nation on earth, you know, is going to use some combination of those 12 colors for their flag. Well, a lot of flags, at a minimum, are going to have overlapping colors. They might have different designs, stars, stripes, whatever, you know. So chords are that way. You know, the C note shows up in a C chord, shows up in an A minor chord, shows up in a G suspended 4 chord, shows up in an A flat major chord. If it's just the note C, it shows up all over the place, just like the color blue shows up in flags all over the world, you know. Okay, so this is what my little mind cooks up as I'm, you know, walking the dog, you know, chords as flags. And we might get back to this next time I walk the dog. Who knows what'll pop into my head. Okay. Okay, you guys. I'm just double checking my agenda, and I think I'm good if you're good. I'll say one more time that I'm looking for your suggestions, song requests for my next ebook, which is going to be chord melody arrangements of famous songs. And I mentioned in the last live stream, I have about 18 that are pretty much ready to go. And it seems to me like 30 would be a nice round number, because 30 is a lot. But you know, if anyone were so inclined to print out the book, it should be at least under 100 pages. So it's going to be a thick thing no matter what if you print it out. But seems to me like 30 songs is a good amount. So that means we have like 12 openings for songs. If you have a suggestion, I would love to hear it. I'm going to put my email address in the chat one more time, because at this point we're going to wrap up the show pretty soon. Emailing me your suggestion would be the best way to do it. info@song-bike.com. And many of you are watching this after the live broadcast, and so email is definitely the way to go. I'm looking for songs that are slow-ish, famous-ish, and that hopefully use pretty much regular chords. You know, if you're not sure, just send to me. I don't mind. Hey, I'm going to A to Z me. I'm going to address your point because it's Blair, I see your point too. You guys make some good points. Blair says, what color is the enharmonic note? So like A sharp and B flat are literally the same note, the same sound, same everything, right? So yeah, how does that change the color? Ooh, good one. Don't know. How to think about that? I gotta walk the dog. I can't think of. I mean, that's my me time, walking the dog. Yeah. Sometimes a metaphor only goes so far. But you know what? I'll sleep on it. A to Z me says, if there's only 12 notes and 12 keys, right, where do 13ths come from? I never understood that. Okay, I'm going to answer your question. It has to do with this whole concept of octaves. You can have low C and high C. I'm going to illustrate this with a C chord. 5th string, 3rd fret is C. 2nd string, 1st fret is C, right? But they're both C. If a scientist were to measure the vibrations, assume my guitar is in tune, the higher C vibrates at exactly twice the frequency, if I'm in tune, exactly twice the frequency of the other C an octave lower, okay? So, and the word octave, 8, right? Oct, 8, right? The quick answer to your question is, where do 13ths come from? Some of you may have heard of like an A 13th chord, okay? If 1 and 8 are the same note, they're both C's, right? The first note of a C scale and the 8th note of a C scale, same name, right? Okay, if those are the same, then the 2nd note and the 9th note have the same name. And the 9th note meaning if we went up to the next octave. So here's 1 octave of a C scale. If I were to go up starting on this C, same names of notes, I'm just going to an octave higher. I could keep going till I run out of frets, right? Okay, so if 1 and 8 have the same name, then 2 and 9 have the same name. See where I'm going? 3 and 10 have the same name. 6 and 13 have the same name. In the case of C, the 6th note is A. Therefore, the 13th note is also A. So that explains where the number 13 comes from in general. When a chord is described as a 13th chord, the best way I can explain why they would call it, say, an A13 as opposed to an A6, because if we're talking about the note, we're talking about the 6th note of the scale either way, right? It's a little bit of an aesthetic thing. They want to drive home the fact that the chord was already a complete good sounding chord, and you're adding a note that's way beyond. I'm not just talking about higher, not musically higher. It doesn't have to be an incredibly high note, but you're adding a note that is a colorful note that is beyond what is necessary to get the point across. It's going beyond the first octave, even if technically it's not 1 octave higher. I know this is the waters are getting a little muddy here, but it's their way of saying that note that you're adding, the 6th degree of the scale, is an extension. I hear that word used quite a bit. An extension of the notes that you're playing within the 1 octave. Yeah, I'm half answering your question. A little bit of this is, it's a rule that you have to follow. You can't say A6 if you mean A13 and vice versa. But we all know you're talking about the same note that's being added. In the key of A, it's the note F sharp. There's a chord called an A major 6, and often it's written A6 with no major. It just implies that you're supposed to know it's an A major 6. So an A major 6 is A, C sharp, E, and F sharp. Those are the 4 notes of an A major 6. If I just saw A13, it's a dominant chord. It's a dominant 7 chord. I know. He's like, wait, A6 was major. I know. But A7, A9, A11, A13, by definition, those are dominant chords built on the A7 with notes from the extended scale added in. When I say extend, I mean beyond that first octave. So an A13, A, C sharp, and E, G, that's what makes it an A7, and then an F sharp, which makes it A13. Am I convincing anyone? I half know what I'm talking about. I mean, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm torn between the numbers and the practicality of it. Blair is saying those are the extensions of the next octave. Yeah, I mean, the big question is A to Z me. Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with what we're saying here? Thank you, Blair. Yeah, there's some stuff as we learn music theory. There's some stuff that it really helps if you just accept it, Nothing wrong with asking why, but you're not going to change it. So you might say, God damn it, I'm not going to call it A13 when it's just the sixth note. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, it's not a democracy, So some stuff, it's really helpful to just accept it. And then later on, you can go back and say, okay, well, why is this such a big deal? And why do I have to accept it? What do you think, A to Z me? Did we lose you? So we'll see. Johnny Mobasher says, this is complicated for a beginner. Rather, you teach us the G string theory. Blair is suggesting a good channel for theory. A jazz pianist named Kent Hewitt, Hewitt. Yeah, why not? If you guys find good sources of information, put it in the chat, man. Let us all know about it. There's lots of teachers out there. There's lots of good teachers out there. But as you guys know, if I might be so bold, if what I do works for you, and that's why you're here, presumably, I get 26 people at the moment, which is awesome, then you know what it means to connect with someone who you think, okay, that I get how he explains it. And if you've ever been to school, there's certain teachers that just work for you. They're just like, yep, that teacher, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So when you find a good one, let us know about it, Joseph is making me hungry. You're talking about hot dogs and things you put on top of hot dogs is a good metaphor. I'm getting hungry. Okay, my friends, I'm good for one more sound effect. How about if I say it makes me sad to say goodbye? Yeah, there we go. How about that? See, I went pretty easy on the effects tonight, even though I have this board right in front of me. Okay, let's call it. I think we did a great job. I look forward to emails about song suggestions. I look forward to hearing how you guys do with both major and minor pentatonic scales with Can't You See? If you think of any questions during the week, write them down so you don't forget them. I will see you, knock on wood, next Saturday. Same time, same everything. If I ever have to change, the only way I can let you know is on social media. At least that's the fastest way I can let you know. So please do follow me. Facebook, Instagram, do a search for the phrase Songbike, all one word, SONGBIKE. Head over to song-bike.com where you can find all my stuff for sale. Mostly ebooks, but my one book I like to call the real book. Every March 1st, coming up, I get my next royalty check from Hal Leonard. It falls well within my wildest dreams. But nevertheless, it is mailbox money. Actually, it's direct deposit, but I still like calling it mailbox money. You wake up in the morning, you go to the mailbox, and there's some money there. So I bought a box of these. Easy guitar, chord, and lead tricks, a guide to elevating your playing. That's what they called it by me. So head over to song-bike.com and check out all the stuff that's there. Okay, my friends, thank you for being here tonight. I will see you next Saturday, February 17, knock on wood. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. Those of you who aren't into the Super Bowl, use that time to practice. The rest of the world is going to be watching the Super Bowl, but not you. You're going to be working on your guitar for a couple of hours. How cool would that be? Get a couple of hours of practice time in. Hey, contact info. Is that really your sign-on? Contact info. Don't worry, contact info. This whole thing has been recorded. You can come back and watch it whenever they record it. I'm going to try to timestamp this live stream a little quicker. Last live stream, it took me days and days and days to time stamp it. I'm working on that. All right, you guys, thank you again for being here. Thank you to Beginner Guitar for being our moderator. And it's dinner time here. All right, I'll see you guys. Take care.